Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I hope that you enjoy the cinematic that I have put together for you. It's coming right up. All of the footage that you're going to see is from just 2 of the summer rallies that I hosted last year. We call them Riot at the Reef because they're right by Capitol Reef. And if you're looking for some amazing dual sport adventures to come and ride this summer, I would love to have you join me on one. We've got just a few spots left. They're small rallies, only 6 riders per rally, and we've left room on the calendar to host some private groups as well if you're interested in that, and we will be adding more rallies for the end of the summer very soon. Now I need to remind you, everything is included on these: food, footage, lodging, the riding, everything. You just bring your bike and your gear and I will cover the rest. And the cool thing is that they cost less per day than a night at a local hotel. But I've got some awesome announcements coming up after the cinematic is through, and then I'll be going shot by shot and telling the story behind each clip, each person, each adventure, and each location. Now, I know that's a little unusual for my channel, but I wanted to make this one really special. My dad was recently diagnosed with cancer for the 3rd time. Now, he's an absolute fighter. I know he's going to be fine. He has beat it twice before. But it's just not fun at all. He's been in a care center for the last couple of weeks recovering from a surgery where they removed a tumor. And he's got some treatments coming up that the doctors sound very positive about, but they also say that they can get pretty rough. So Dad, I wanted to make you a very special cinematic and then tell you the stories about what's going on in every single shot featured in this video. And hopefully this is something that you can watch again and again as you're recovering and getting better. Anyway, more about all of that in a few minutes, so enjoy the cinematic, and as always, much love.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I hope that you enjoyed that little cinematic clip as much as I enjoyed writing it and filming it and meeting the people who were in it and putting it all together to that amazing music. Now remember, if you'd like to have an adventure like this, on rides like this, with people like this, and get footage like this, there are still a few spots available at everrideadv.com, and I'll have a link in the description for you to book. Now, I think that I've mentioned in the past that my dad is the biggest fan of this channel. He really enjoys seeing the landscapes and the drone footage and hearing the stories of my rallies and the rides. But this footage of last year's riot at the Reef is really special to him. See, my dad spent a lot of time in his youth in this area, and many of his ancestors are from this area. And in kind of an incredible turn of events, earlier this spring, my dad bought a few acres in the heart of all of this amazing riding, and he plans on building a family gathering place for his kids, his grandkids, and it's going to be amazing. So why is that awesome for you guys watching this video? Because once that place is built, we will be able to hold Riot at the Reef rallies there and offer even better amenities than we can here in St. George. It's also at the far end of the eveRide Loop, and so if you're doing the eveRide Loop and you need a place to unwind as you ride it, this would be an ideal spot. But here's kind of the crazy thing. So far, with some of his health limitations that I've mentioned previously, videos like this are all that he has seen of the area in decades. He hasn't actually been down there himself. So I wanted to show him some of the highlights of the area that he can enjoy from home and see if he recognized some of the places that we ride from his youth, and to get him excited for all of the amazing things to come. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, what you're seeing here very first is quite adventurous. That is my friend Brian going through a river very rapidly. I kept hitting the button on my camera, and for some reason there was a delay. And so Brian would go through the river, I'd hit the button on the camera, and it would only catch the very end of it. And so he went through this river several times for me like an absolute trooper. He's also known as Riding with a Ride-A-Map, ride as much as possible. I've been a friend of his for a long time, and yeah, he's got a great little channel, and yeah, go check it out. Look for Ride-A-Map on YouTube. All right, this next one is my good friend Craig, my really good friend Craig. He's actually staying with our family right now with his wife and his lovely new baby, such a sweet little girl. But Craig is absolutely ripping on his KTM 690s on this beautiful, beautiful Red Hill Trail above Torrey, Utah. And you'll see clips, different clips of this, a lot of them, throughout that cinematic, because it was just such a great chase with the FPV drone, and I was getting nice and tight on Craig, and just everything looked really, really good that day. All right, this next clip is my friend Sean and Brian cruising through kind of a open meadow up on Boulder Mountain. This is again Craig and Brian cruising along through at the top of the Henry Mountains, which the Henry Mountains remain some of the least explored. It is the least explored place in the lower United States, so that's pretty cool. This is a very remote area, and it is really cool to be up there. This is up on Boulder Mountain, and beautiful scene. Interesting fact about Boulder Mountain and Thousand Lakes Mountain, they both kind of straddle the town of Torrey and Bicknell. The cartographer got it wrong. They were originally named Boulder Mountain and Thousand Lakes Mountain because Thousand Lakes Mountain naturally had 1,000 lakes. Well, the map companies got it wrong, and they named the mountains Boulder and Thousand Lakes opposite. And so this is Boulder Mountain with all the lakes, and Thousand Lakes Mountain actually does not have many lakes, but it has many boulders. This is another shot of Craig, Brian, and Sean cruising towards the Henry Mountains, which is an amazing spectacle because the Henry Mountains have a peak height of about 11,500 feet, and Hanksville, where we were taking off from, is at about, I think, 3,500 feet. So we were actually going up a lot in elevation, and you can see from some of those shots up in the Henry Mountains, we are looking a long way down into Capitol Reef and the beautiful valleys below. It's just fantastic. Here's another great drone shot, kind of panning down to the diverse landscape up in the Henry Mountains. This is just a road out in the Badlands. We just kind of discovered this road and we're cruising along, and gosh, it made for some beautiful scenery. I was able to get out the Skydio, which is a drone that automatically follows you until it runs into the ground or runs into a tree or has some other very expensive failure. But when it works really good. It's just very expensive to operate because every once in a while it will just do its own thing and get lost or whatever. It's not a very good purchase, but it does get some excellent shots when it gets them. This next shot, I'm following Krug up at the top of Thousand Lakes Mountain, which again should be Boulder Mountain. But beautiful, beautiful scene. And this next clip is really interesting because the drone ran out of batteries and it emergency landed right here. And I could only control it and see what was happening until I was about 20 feet up in the air above Krug here. And the drone landed on its own, but kept recording. And it got this kind of candid shot of Krug getting some shots looking over Capitol Reef down below. And it ended up beautiful. I absolutely love this shot. Well done, DJI, for making a drone that somehow gets shots like this once it's on the ground. All right, this is on top of Boulder Mountain. Going down those mountains in the distance are the Henry Mountains. And in between is Capitol Reef and the Water Pocket Fold, which is just this huge geological formation which formed Capitol Reef, and it's incredible. It's so beautiful. But yeah, there's Brian and Joe heading down towards the valley. All right, here we are at Swingarm City with the follow drone. And you can actually see me in the black with the silver helmet this time. And you can see Brian off in the distance catching some air, which is pretty cool. Here we have Sean coming up an amazing Red Hill cliff. Now, this is color graded because I shoot in D-Log, right, which is like a very flat profile. But you can bump up the color, and this really is what it looks like. Look at all the color in this shot. It's absolutely unbelievable, the colors of this area. You have Boulder Mountain on the left. Torrey, if you were to head left from this shot, you'd run into the town of Torrey, and to the right, you'd run into Bicknell. It's just, oh, that's just, this is an amazing place. All right, here's a drone shot that I wanted to show kind of down into the valley, and that's Boulder Mountain, the huge dome mountain in the distance. This is near the top, near the summit, or at least the, where the summit of the road is on the Henry Mountains. And so I pan over to see the bikes riding down the road. This shot was taken by the follow drone in the Badlands, and you can see me pulling up towards this just amazing riverbed. And then the drone kind of does some funky stuff once I get to the top and stop. It doesn't quite know what to do. I wish it would have just stayed there with a nice static shot. That riverbed or lake bed or whatever that is just otherworldly. I mean, that whole area is just crazy. And then that huge just, uplift in the distance where the earth just seemed to shove out of the ground. It's incredibly cool. All right, here's another shot of that little tiny side trail. If you go right on the hill there, that's where that shot of Krug was earlier, where the drone landed. And so this is a little better view down into Capitol Reef. You can see Cathedral Valley down in there, actually. This is my really good friend Rob cruising through that same river. I know I always like to record river crossings. Maybe I record them too much, but to me, I mean, living in Utah, in the desert of Utah, water is cool, and riding through water on your motorcycle is pretty amazing. So, I really enjoy getting shots of going through water. I just love it. There's just not a lot of water here, so it's special to me. Maybe you guys are like, why all the river crossings? This is dumb, but no, they mean something to me. We don't have a lot of water out here. This shot here is just unbelievable. This is, I believe it's called the Bentonite Hills, but gosh, just look at that. Totally otherworldly, and I love the shot that gets a little bit higher. It just looks like a little couple of marching ants, and the colors, my gosh, this place really is just incredibly, incredibly beautiful.
This one's another shot of me going up a pretty intense little hill climb for a dual sport, packed with luggage and drones and stuff, in the Swing Arm City. I'm cruising up the hill to go meet everybody. We're going to continue on the trail to the north. Here's a great shot of my buddy Joe. He's a great rider, a good friend, and just has like the most contagious smile. Love this guy. And yeah, kind of a cool drone shot following him around on his Cowie 250. Here's a shot of Aaron on his GPX and Sean on the Beta and Joe on the Kawasaki coming past just the most amazing, I mean, that is just a crazy, beautiful monolith. That is called the Temple of the Sun. It's inside Capitol Reef, and the roads to it just, it's just like riding on Mars. It's really amazing. I love shots like this, people celebrating. If ever I'm orbiting you with the drone and you're staying still at the top of a hill, give me a thumbs up or pump your arms or do something, celebrate, you know. It always looks really cool, and here's Krug having a good time. Here's another quick shot of the Henry Mountains looking towards Boulder Mountain and the valley below. Here's a really pretty shot that I love with the bikes coming in the third there, and Swing Arm City, and then Factory Butte in the background. But you can see all those hills back there. That's like, all of those are hill climbable. It's Swing Arm City in and of itself is absolutely incredible. I love that place. This is kind of a neat shot. I wish I would have been a little further left to get more of the lake in the shot. But yeah, the cows are kind of splitting there like the Red Sea as the motorcycles go through. So I thought that was a cool shot, and sometimes things just line up like this. Again, I wish I would have been a little further to the right and put the motorcycles more on the left, but hey, I got what I got, and I'm happy with what I got. That was a pretty cool shot. Here is Joe and I ripping through kind of a green riverbed. It was a stark contrast to just the barren nothingness everywhere else. And kind of this dry riverbed is here, and there's all these green sagebrush in there. It's kind of cool. There's another shot coming down the Henry Mountains, and a nice, beautiful, you know, tree fall there, which is kind of cool. Here's a great shot cruising through the Badlands. A lot of these trails, we just said, hey, this is a trail on the map. I haven't scouted it yet. Do you guys want to go try it? And they were like, sure, let's go do it. And when we did, it was just amazing. I loved every minute of it. All right, right when the music really picks up, this is Terry. He's a racer, just absolutely flying by on his Husqvarna 701 with Capitol Reef in the background. Just a beautiful shot there. I love it. This is Chris. Chris is amazing, and he is on an Aprilia Touareg 650, and he was bossing a lot of the stuff we were doing. I don't recommend people to bring bigger bikes like this. You know, the riding we do is really meant for smaller dual sports, but Chris could handle it. I mean, he did just about everything we threw at him, and did it with a smile. He's amazing, and you know, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a little tangent, but Chris and I stayed up until like 3 a.m. on the final night of the rally. Chris is an amateur astronomer, and we had a telescope at the place we were staying at, and he was showing me different stars. We looked at Saturn, we looked at Jupiter, and it was just unbelievably cool. He taught me so much about astronomy, and just, that was so cool. It's so cool, these relationships that you form. And the sky in and around Capitol Reef at night is, you know, when it's a clear night, you can see all the stars. I mean, it is unbelievably beautiful. And what a cool thing to share that night sky with an amateur astronomer like Chris that would teach me so much. That really was just one of the most memorable things about any of the rallies. Had nothing to do with motorcycles, but just it was just one of those really cool experiences that I'll never forget. All right, here we just have a nice drone shot up in the Henry Mountains, chasing some bikes. And here we are. This is Cathedral Valley inside Capitol Reef. And those spires don't look very big from this angle, from as far away as I am, but they are pretty massive and very impressive. The tricky thing is kind of once we get in there closer, well, I don't know why I didn't film more in there. I think you're just in awe. I really miss out on so many things that I could film. Like the things that you guys see in these videos are like a fraction of the things that we see on the rallies. It really is like when I have time and the guts to jet ahead of the group and stop, and then they pass me. That's when I can get the shot, and I don't do that very often. So, the things that you don't see are way more than the things that you see in this video. All right, here I am following Rob again through a very rainy time and through a big puddle up on the top of Boulder Mountain. What a fun time. We've been on top of Boulder Mountain so many times, and I think it just always is raining and cold and wet there. A few times it's been kind of sunny, but it's still cold and weirdly humid. But Boulder Mountain is absolutely amazing. I did a lot of scout camping when I was a kid there, and it's been fun to go back through and maybe recognize some of the places that I think I camped as a scout, and I've got a lot of stories about that stuff too. Here we are back at Swing Arm City. This is just a beautiful shot looking at a nice butte in the background, Factory Butte. This is Craig ripping along. My goodness, this shot is just fantastic. All that I can say is I just love this. I love flying FPV. People are like, oh, I'm sorry you have to stop riding your motorcycle to fly the drone. I enjoy flying the drone as much as I enjoy riding the motorcycle. They are both my favorite things. So I don't mind I don't mind flying the drone at all. I love getting footage of people. All right, this is a really diverse shot looking down on top of the Henry Mountains. We've got some big, really interesting kind of rock slides there with some vegetation in them. I just really like that shot. Here we are, I'm chasing Terry. We're going through a massive flash flood. This actually kind of started to get scary. We were coming down off the Henry Mountains and into this stuff, and we were leading through some canyons. We had a river crossing that we had to do. And I knew we would come to this river crossing, and I was like, well, maybe we could make it through. It was kind of a long shot, but I knew that if we couldn't cross that river, we'd have to go back up over the Henry Mountains and around. And it was going to be a very long, long, long day if we couldn't cross that river. But luckily, and very weirdly, I mean, there was so much water, so much rain coming down. The river that I was worried about crossing was just like a stream. Meanwhile, there were bigger streams going across the road in different areas. In fact, on this day, the paved road in Capitol Reef National Park got washed out by the flash flooding that happened there. So it was a pretty intense day. All right, here we have Terry coming up through some rocks on his beautiful Husky 701. This is kind of a cool shot at Swing Arm City, just a couple of bikes making crisscrosses. All right, this trail is called Slick Rock Trail, but it's not the one in Moab, obviously. There's a lot of sand on this trail as well. This is one that we saw on our map, and I just said, hey, do you guys want to go try this trail? We went and tried it, and it ended up being really, really fun and incredibly beautiful. This is through what we call Bill's Trail, and the man I'm following is, you guessed it, Bill. Such a cool guy. We were cruising through this area, and Chris was with us as well, and we were kind of being cautious because we were like, hey, can Chris get through some of this stuff? It gets pretty narrow, and we had no doubt in his riding ability, but I just kind of had that feeling like, maybe we don't know where this goes because there's no map of this trail, but it is a trail. Anyway, it was just fantastic because Bill kept going, and I kept following him because I didn't want him to be alone while the group stayed behind. And we got into some stuff that was just absolutely beautiful. And I said, Bill, we've got to go back and get the rest of the group and bring them here. And I said, we might run into a dead end up this trail, but we've got to go try. And so we went and got the rest of the group. We all got through this stuff. It was an absolute adventure. And Bill just kept pressing forward, and he found a way all the way through that met up with the main road. And so it is a through trail, and in my book, in my world, this is now called Bill's Trail because Bill found it, Bill pressed forward through it, and I love it. That was such a cool day. and one of the best adventures that we've had on any rally up there. All right, here goes Rob cruising by, and with some lightning in the background. We are heading towards that huge storm that I was talking about with all the flash flooding. That was kind of intimidating, no lie. Here's Craig again on his KTM 500, zipping down this beautiful hill in Swing Arm City. And here's Craig once again going up the hill, the crisscross hill that I showed earlier. This is it from a different perspective, and he is just ripping up there, following Brian. Here's Sean cruising up a double track in the Henry Mountains on his Beta 500. I love this shot here of Joe absolutely ripping on that little Kawasaki through Swing Arm City, getting a little air there, and man, I love that area. It's such a fun area. And we kept this one nice and simple with Craig and Brian just ripping up the Henry Mountains on that nice dirt road. Here's the follow drone again, following us just through the Badlands. That's kind of where I like to use it, where there's not a whole lot of trees for it to run into, but it does capture some really great shots. This shot has kind of a cool story behind it. This trail that we were taking, this dirt road that we were taking, none of us had ever been on it. I hadn't scouted it yet, and so we went on it. It was the first time for all of us, and it ended up being a really beautiful kind of side trail near Hanksville. This again is up in Boulder Mountain, what should be called Thousand Lakes Mountain, but yeah, just a really pretty scene over there. And once again, in Boulder Mountain, going by, this was a really backwoods trail. It didn't really exist on our map, but we kind of saw it winding through the trees, and we said, hey, do you guys want to try this trail? Let's give it a shot. And it ended up going by this absolutely beautiful lake. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so that was definitely a trail worth taking, but that kind of stuff happens all the time where we see a track go off somewhere and we say, hey, let's go that way. Let's try it. Let's scout that. And it just ends up being gorgeous. Here's Krug cruising up Thousand Lakes Mountain, and that place where you saw him stop earlier is up ahead, and you can see Capitol Reef to the left. I love doing dives like this. They make it really dramatic with the music and stuff, and that's Joe down in the distance that I'm about to follow. However, when I clip, I'm actually clipping to my friend Steve, who somehow manages to get pretty seriously injured on every single rally that he comes to. And he's actually, you guys, Steve told, we have a group text with all the buds, and Steve told the group that he's selling his bikes, and I'm kind of sad about this. But he does, get injured, and he's got a lot of kids, and he's got a job that depends on him, a very important job. But maybe you guys could write a comment and be like, hey, no, Steve, you probably ought to keep your bike. Or maybe just tone it back, just tone it back a little bit. But yeah, on a couple of days before this shot was taken, he'd actually overshot a turn and crashed really hard. In fact, he has names for some of the bruises and contusions. One of the bruises that he had is aptly named Bruce. So, it's pretty serious, and yeah, he's gotten pretty banged up. So tell him to keep riding. Steve, if you're watching this, keep riding, but just tone it back a little bit. I don't know if he knows how to tone it back, though. He's a pretty fast rider, and yeah, he likes to just rip, so, whatever. All right, here we have Chris going by a beautiful lake up near Thousand Lakes Mountain, kind of towards Fish Lake. Here's Brian coming up this really cool cliff. I was able to get really close, get a really awesome shot there. And sometimes I wonder if people think that I'm going to hit them with the drone, because right at the end here you see him, oh, maybe he's giving a thumbs up? I can't tell what he's doing. He's either giving a thumbs up or he's going to shield his face from the drone hitting him. I've never hit anybody with the drone. I've gotten really close, but I'm pretty precise with this thing. So anyway. Some people duck, some people, flinch when it gets close. I won't hit you. I promise I will never hit you with the drone. Maybe. Here's the shot of going through some of this flash flooding. You can see that it's quite muddy. There's rivers just coming through randomly, random places going across the road. This really was quite sketchy. It was, you know, I was nervous that we might run into something impassable. This clip here shows Terry going by, and then what you don't see in the cinematic is here comes Steven ripping by as well, and it was not long after that that Steven went off the embankment there and really got banged up. All right, here's Brian and Craig coming down on top of the Henry Mountains on a nice meadow. And here we are cruising towards that huge storm, the huge gale up in the distance with the lightning. It's so dramatic. It's pretty cool. Right after this, the Skydio absolutely failed, and maybe it was the lightning. I don't know what happened, but it would not follow us anymore. It probably saw the rain and was like, So anyway, I had to land it. But anyway, we're back on Bill's trail, and this is Chris on that big Aprilia. And he's coming through, and you can see he goes up that, and you know, on the wide angle camera it doesn't look like much, but that thing was like straight up and down. We were really nervous that maybe Chris would have a difficult time getting up that, but he got up it like super easy first try, and that was it. So little celebration, and Krug there was like unbelievable. So anyway guys, that is it. I hope you really enjoyed that, Dad. I hope that kind of lifts your spirits a little bit in this tough time for you. Thank you so much for watching, and Dad, I love you, and I hope you're feeling better. And I want to visit you soon. Hopefully, we'll get up there pretty soon and get you feeling better, and then get you back to Capitol Reef down in that area so you can see some of this cool stuff. Yeah, much love to everybody. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of this community. And yeah, eveRide out.